I didn't add as many rotations, at least intentional as yours. I didn't decorate mine enough. I had to. This for some reason my phone was really annoying. I had to like I could only edit 10 at a time.
Oh
Like I could
yeah,
only
I
edit,
had
like
to
10.
do that too. So I had to like start a new
Yeah,
thing. I did that, and then I also had to. The reason why I decorated them back and forth and stuff is because I didn't want to put in all the effort of making them fit. So I just kind of tilted them to make them fit
yeah.
sometimes.
Some of mine randomly tilted when I tried to move them because it just like some of them are bigger for that reason as well. It's like
Hmm.
I try to move them rotate like oh shit well, and then some of mine didn't even I couldn't even fit some of mine into the box. So yeah, real schoolboy effort here. But I also now see the method too, removing the G in the bingo. That bit makes sense to me as I saw your bingo cards. Like why am I playing Bingo? Right. So shall I'll begin. What top left? Same as you. We'll go
Yeah.
left to right. Yeah. I thought first Fernando Alonso shithouses a podium. Just Alonso's got an excellent tendency to shithouse results that his car does not deserve. I'm not sure what to expect from Aston Martin this season. They started off really well in 2023, they're the second best team, and then progressively slid backwards in 23. Part of that was kind of Ferrari, Mercedes kind of getting their act together finally. McLaren then having all worldly turnaround, but then part of it was just Aston Martin doing the same thing again in 24. Was they start off well and then kind of they go well, kind of spoiling another one, but anyways, the car has not lived up to expectations, and I suspect Alonso will do what he has often done, is get more out of that car than what has deserved. A podium would be a kind of shock at this stage because Aston Martin kind of firmly fallen behind the other four teams in Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren, and Mercedes. So a podium, I think if this were actually to come true, I would be surprised. So I would have this on the kind of unlikely spectrum. But
Okay.
hmm.
What exactly does shit houses mean?
Shithouse to kind of achieve a result that isn't really deserved.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay.
So to
That
engage
makes
in
sense.
shithousery, so to speak.
I mean, I feel like I could have done that with Joey Logano.
Like just like somehow like oh of course he's done it like of course he's accomplished this nonsense.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing. So yeah, Alonso's got a good capability of doing that. If the car's half there, we'll see how half there it is. But yeah, that's the first one. The second one is kind of a one set of it's got a one shot happening. Ferrari winning at their home race in Monza. The So this is like as much of a home race as it gets in F1. Like teams have home races, but nothing compares to Ferrari at Monza. Like it's the kind of the holy grail, and their fans, the Tifosi as they're known as, they go nuts for it. It's the fan atmosphere is there's few like it, and a Ferrari home win is as popular as any victory in Formula One as it gets.
Hmm.
I won't attach a driver to it. Leclerc did it last year, and that was an insane spectacle. If Hamilton did it his first year, that would be one of the stories of the season. That was an insane spectacle. If Hamilton did it his first year, that would be one of the stories of the season. Like if Hamilton in his first season at Ferrari were to do that, having been basically Ferrari's rival through his entire career, whether he drove a McLaren or he drove a Mercedes, I was there at every point. Basically, they've been Ferrari's antagonists, so to speak. So it is weird to see Hamilton on this side of the fence now. And if he were to do it, that would be an insane storyline. But yeah, if it doesn't happen, then that line is shafted in its entirety. But we'll give it a go.
Yeah.
Next, I have Ocon and Ollie Behrman to crash. So these are the new Haas lineup. This is the new Haas team partnership of Esteban Ocon and Ollie Behrman.
Mm.
Esteban Ocon, he's French, and he's now formed a tendency everywhere he's been to butt heads with his teammate. And in F1, generally speaking, your teammate, yes, it technically is your enemy, but not to that extreme. Like generally speaking, you have to have some form of team cohesion. This goes for anywhere really, but in racing. But Esteban Ocon has found a way at every stop that he's had to either outright crash with his. Yeah, I don't think there's been a team he hasn't crashed with really, other than maybe Daniel Ricciardo in his 1 year at Renault.
Yeah.
But other than that, like he's crashed with Perez multiple times. He's not had a full blown. He didn't have a full blown crash with Alonso, but he's had contact at various points and aggressive flash points. And then Pierre Gasly, he's crashed with a few times when they were teammates and they famously hate each other, which made a great partnership to begin with. He's now moved to Haas, and he moves there with the idea that he's the best driver there. But Ollie Behrman is a very, very quick young driver. He's basically, for all intents and purposes, a rookie this season, but he's a rookie with very high caliber. Ferrari rate him very highly. He's one of their drivers, so to speak. So it's not impossible he'll be racing a Ferrari in the future. He's also the kind of person that won't back down. He won't give a shit about Ocon wanting to establish superiority. He's not going to care. And he's likely going to have the pace to rival Ocon from the start. So yeah, and Ocon is not going to take that line down. So I think these two will have a coming together at some stage during the season, and it's going to be fun when it kicks off because yeah, Ocon's kind of on like career, like he needs to rebuild his reputation image somewhat, and the perfect thing to rival that is a hotshot young rookie. So I
Yeah,
think that's going to be fun.
they're gonna crash. I think you probably have the same thing with
Hmm.
like Ocon just looks goofy on a page, but it doesn't sound bad.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I kind of see what you mean. It looks, it
And then
reads
Bear
oddly.
Man.
The bear man, yeah. I do like that. That was kind of why when he's an F3, I looked at like, yeah, like oh, he's got the name for like an appeal going forward, of the bear man. Yeah, I like it a lot. Uh, top five name on the grid for sure.
Top five name of all time.
Yeah, it's gotta be up there for sure. So yeah, I think those two will come together. It'll be great fun. I'm an avid disliker of Esteban Ocon, so I will enjoy that even more when it's his fault, and he gets the blame. But like he has to like. I feel like you can't like like those drivers that just they have to behave and they have to like Ocon has actually some reputational. He's got to save some sort of reputation because if he crashes and burns out here, I don't know where all of a sudden like he's gone from like a Mercedes prodigy to this maybe his last legitimate shot in F1. Like he's kind of the manufacturer kind of route has kind of passed him by where like he was like a Mercedes junior and like he had was very highly rated the first 2 seasons and he went to Renault as kind of he's supposed to be the guy there and then that never really worked out even after Ricardo left and obviously Alonso kind of uprooted that too and all of a sudden now he's now heading down the grid to a customer team and with this reputation of like bad teammate and bad for team harmony and all that and all of a sudden he's kind of he has to kind of be careful and save himself but I'm sure it's the same in NASCAR. Like, I don't know if he can actually help himself from not doing that, from not self-combusting. So I'm sure like NASCAR has similar kind of archetypes that kind of fit that as well.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
They just can't help it. It's in their nature. It's innate. Yeah, that's how I feel about Ocon. Next, Mexico and Imola are, I think, disappearing off the F1 calendar. Kind of always a subplot in F1 is kind of where kind of contracts with tracks lie. And now like the grid's really expanded in the last few years. So like now we've got 24 races. There were times in me growing up watching F1 like a season would be 17 races, 18 races. That's the kind of length. So the kind of modern day kind of almost extended by almost a third. So but there's all now with F1's kind of growing popularity there's always pressure from other places that want an F1 race. You've got the likes of Argentina wanting a comeback, you have like Korea wanting to get back into the action, and with all these kind of all this kind of another American race is always looming. Like Chicago's been rumored for a while. I don't know what will happen with that, but
yeah, I was wondering with Mexico disappearing, do you mean by like it's not going to be on the radar anymore?
yeah. So Mexico, from what I know, and certainly Imola are tracks that are out of contract at the end of the year, and
They're leaving
generally
because NASCAR's coming in. That's why.
probably helps, but probably helps Mexico in that sense. But yeah, it's never good when a track enters the last year of its deal. Generally speaking, this is kind of some tracks are like have like 10-year contracts, and I think in Australia's case, I think it's on the grid contracted to like 2037 or something ridiculous like that. So generally speaking, tracks entering last year's deal is never a good thing. Coinciding with the fact that Imola and Mexico have been pretty difficult to race at in F1. They just don't produce good races for different reasons. Imola is kind of it's too the overtakes are either too easy on the main straight and they only happen in one place, and generally speaking, following is quite difficult in the aerodynamics. And then Mexico is kind of difficult because I don't know, for like it has a sucking big straight and it has some interesting side by side action points, but it just seems like the altitude really affects how the cars perform at that altitude. I think it's like 8 or 9. I think it's don't quote me, but I think it's like 8 or 9,000 feet above sea level. It's by far the highest altitude F1 races at, and just for some reason, the way the engines perform and the aerodynamics, it just doesn't lend for good racing. And now with Sergio Perez now chopped from Red Bull and off the F1 grid, it just makes the appeal of it even commercially now. It's going to be very interesting how that race unfolds this year.
Yeah, I'm interested.
Would NASCAR have like races that are kind of geared towards like a driver being from there, kind of as a reason that kind of hangs around?
I know
Even thinking of like Mexico.
Daniel Suarez from Mexico.
Mm.
A lot of people are talking about him going back there and being able to win, which I don't know how much that might hold water because I feel Kurt Busch was the one that won there last time in I think Xfinity when he drove there.
Mm.
So I think that it might go to Kurt Busch, or yeah, Kyle Busch. I don't know why I said Kurt.
Kirk Busch?
Kurt Busch does not race in
Kurt.
NASCAR anymore, so I don't know why I said that. Uh, but I know Denny Hamlin almost always wins at his home track. I can't. My brain is not working right now. I can't remember. Denny Hamlin always wins at Pocono.
Is he from there, or is it just he's
He
just
is
really
not.
good at that combination?
He's just really good at that combination. The turning left.
It reminds me of Joseph Newgarden in IndyCar, where he's really good at the Iowa Speedway, the oval there, and of all they call him the King of Corn County, I think is what they call, which is as far as nicknames go. I mean, that's rough, man.
I know.
F1's throwing something you get Mr. Monaco or something that's ooh, that's got the lure to it.
Oh,
But the King of the King of Corn County doesn't quite have the same kind of ring to it, does
I
it?
do think that Max, or I was gonna say Max Verstappen. I don't know who I'm talking about. Shane Van Gisbergen is gonna be that his home is at the street races, and I know NASCAR is talking about coming up with new street races for 2026. So I think he will probably be at home with the Chicago street race this next year, which is I think the last year for the Chicago street race.
Oh,
I wouldn't doubt if they go for another couple years, but I know that they only signed for 3 years, a 3-year deal.
it's been a hit though, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, it is, but I don't think they make enough money to make it last.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of, and F1 tracks can be the same. The sponsorship money, sometimes has to come from the actual governments. I think Mexico City, the actual city itself, front the money for. I say front. I think illegal about it. They put the money towards it themselves, and that kind of thing can be it's not sustainable long term. Generally speaking, you'd hope that this sponsors or something would do it, but when governments, it can be fickle sometimes in terms of their agendas. Sometimes it suits their interest to host a race for their country or city. Sometimes it doesn't, and so I think Mexico can kind of fall into that, and Imola can be the same. Moving on then to one I would love to see happen, but I'm always unsure. It's Kimi Antonelli getting a rookie win. Generally speaking, rookies don't get a chance immediately in top cars. It doesn't happen too often. Antonelli's going to be a unique situation where he's in a top team. Now, whether they produce a top car is going to be a different story. But if he's the generational talent Mercedes believe him to be, then possibly there's a chance he could get a chance for a rookie win. Rookie wins, I think there's been two in the last 28 years. You're going back to Lewis Hamilton in 2007 and Jacques Villeneuve in 1996. I think as far as that's kind of, I think those are the last two rookie race winners. It's kind of rare territory, not just because you have to be good at it. It's kind of, you have to be good, obviously, but obviously you've got to have the look and the car to do so. And yeah, so it's going to be interesting if Antonelli has one or both of those things. That's going to be an interesting kind of storyline heading into the season because Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff really, really wanted Antonelli in the car, and he's got him. So, and they were making good progress with their car at the back end of last season. So I think he's going to have an opportunity to, especially the start of the season, I think possibly too, a thing we'll get onto later, but he's got a good chance to, I think, have to be up at near the front. So yeah, where he's got the metal to win the race will be fascinating. But I'll put it down there anyways. I think it's going to be very interesting to see because rookie race winners are always very, very popular.
Yeah, I know that he has been the talk of the town because I've heard his name 100 times now, and I don't watch F1, so he's really somebody that people are really looking forward to, and I think it would be a sensation if he did win, because I think it would be a bigger deal than a normal rookie winning because he has so much power behind him of people liking him. I also think it's very funny that you put the Antonelli wins right where I put the Bubba Wallace wins.
Oh, really? That'd be very cool to see both those come through. I think people like him because they gravitate towards him because he does this hot shot. He's 18. He looks like a kid still. I don't know if you've ever seen a picture of him, but he's literally just passed his driving test. It's funny that you can have a Grand Prix seat locked down, but not have your road test completed. I just find that funny sometimes. So that'd be very good. Next, then, only a second row. Geez, I'll try and fly through these. To get Oscar Piastri is one of the hot shots in F1. He's Lando Norris's teammate at McLaren, and he's won a few races, but famously doesn't have a pole position yet. And it's kind of, I don't know if the same in NASCAR. It's kind of one of the it's one of the, I guess, the monkeys you have to get off your back. Like you have to take the next step, that you have to do something, whether it be, take a race win or whatever it is. For Piastri, because qualifying is so important in F1, especially last year with how close and competitive the order was, qualifying is so important. And the one thing he couldn't quite do was get himself on pole position. And so I'm putting that down as a thing for him to do next year. I don't know when, if it'll happen, but it's one of the more important elements to Piastri's season, because he's got very good race pace. And if he can get a qualifying sword, he could legitimately be a championship contender.
Mm-hmm.
So, but this is a part of his game that he's got to get right and got to get on top of, and one that Norris blew him out of the water last season. So, yeah, that's kind of a little subplot, I think, of the season. He's got to get his first pole position. I don't know when, if, but that's, yeah, have that on the old bingo.
Yeah, I don't know Piastri, I don't think.
Piastri is Australian. He would have come up through the junior categories in Formula 2 and Formula 3 and that. Yeah, famously kind of replaced the other Australian at McLaren at the time in Daniel Ricciardo.
Mm-hmm.
And his manager is Mark Webber, who's also another former F1 Australian. So kind of keep it in the family. Australian violence for replacing him. But yeah, he's definitely one of the up-and-comers in F1. People regard him as a future world champion, and he's got he's just stone cold. Like he's got that motherfucker gene in him, if you get me. Like he's just, some people have it, and like he just has the mentality for it. Like he's just, very little seems to phase him. Like he's just, he's got the mentality to do it. He's just had to put a few things together for him to be the complete package, but he's got the mentality, which is huge. Like there are drivers that I'm sure you have the same in NASCAR. Like there are drivers that are more reluctant maybe to send it when it matters. Piastri will send it, but without being reckless. It's a very fine line to balance, and the best drivers have that. They're not afraid to go for it, but it's within control.
Yeah,
and Piastri kind of has the kind of elements of that. So yeah, it'll take him far. The next one, kind of as I allude to with Alonso, Aston Martin have enforced a propensity to go backwards as the season has gone on. So let's see if it happens 3 years in a row. They have a good winter and catch back up with their winter development of the car, but then find a way to go backwards as the season has gone on. And yes, I'm seeing if I'm betting that it'll happen for a third year in a row, which surely not. Like they've made a lot of changes.
I wouldn't doubt that is doubly so this year, though, because of the 2026 F1 car changing.
Yeah, like it could be a case of like they roll out the car and it's like, and it doesn't do as well as they thought. And they go, well, I mean, they're going to have an eye on 2026 anyway. So it's like, well, why even bother? And it'll probably actually be in their best interest. If that was the case, there's like you're incentivized to finish further up the table if you can, because the standings, because you get more money for doing so, quite a bit more incrementally as you go up the standings. So, for example, I'm looking at the 2023 season prize money, for instance, just as a reference. If you win the constructors, you get $140 million approximately. If you finish, say, in seventh, which is where Aston could maybe finish if things don't go too well, you'd get about $87 million, and it's a significant difference. And it works about 10 million per position going upwards essentially. So like there's a 10 million is a fair chunk of change. So especially in the cost cap era where it allows you to be more profitable than ever. So it does incentivize you to actually finish ahead. So, but for Aston Martin, they're probably because their owner's a billionaire, it probably suits them to finish lower, because the lower down the standings you get more development time for your car, which in a year like this year would be pretty important. Some teams care about money more than others, like Haas, for instance. Gene Haas is just he's notoriously cheap, and so the higher up he can finish, the more money he gets, the better. Whereas with Aston Martin, with Lawrence Stroll as their owner, 10 million is not going to make a lot of difference really in his pocket. So yeah, it's one of those. But yeah, they may actually prefer to finish backwards. So we'll see how that goes, and just go all in for 26, which is, I think, already where their hope is. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I'm backing a third year in a row for them to go backwards, because I haven't seen any hint of them being able to fix any development issues. So yeah. Next then, McLaren to bottle a race win. Yes. I don't know if you have the same in NASCAR, but do you ever get a situation where a team or a driver doesn't know how to win, so to speak? Like they don't know the rules of engagement at the front may be different from in the midfield, or it takes a different level of strategy for planning to win a race rather than finish highly in the midfield.
I can't remember his name at the moment, but yes, I have the idea of a specific driver, and I know a couple of the mid-pack teams are like that as well, where they're really good, but then they get to the front and they don't know what to do.
Yeah, sometimes they kind of teams can overthink it, and then they end up doing the wrong thing. McLaren were kind of in a similar vein last year, where they finally found themselves actually contending for wins. and found themselves making a couple of poor decision choices and not being decisive enough to see home victory. Now, they shouldn't run into this problem again, having now had the experience, but I'm backing them to. I still think they're quite jittery, especially now they got the constructors title last year, but not the drivers. So I think that'll be their big push again this year. We'll obviously go for the constructors again, but they want to get the drivers one this time for Norris or Piastri, but I'd imagine Norris would be the one leading the way. So yeah, and they can get a little jittery, a little kind of rattled under pressure, Norris in particular. So I'm going to back them. I'm not convinced by them yet, so I'm going to back them to for the bottle in them to bottle a race win, to fold under the pressure. So yeah, and I enjoy talking about them folding under pressure because it's fun. So I enjoy it. So yeah, put me down for one of those. Next, then, Liam Lawson is the new Red Bull driver. He was promoted from their junior team. Red Bull Racing have a notorious problem with their second driver next to Verstappen, in which the driver next to Verstappen hasn't quite or doesn't perform and subsequently gets chucked out of the team.
Oh, man.
Sergio, yeah, it's ruthless. It can be very ruthless. They've gone through, since Ricciardo left, and Ricciardo was the one that was like holding it down there as well with Verstappen. They've gone through, I think now, this is driver number 4 that they've gone through since then. All have been chucked out basically for underperforming. Perez was the one that did the best, but then when the crash kind of came, the decline in form, it was bad. So basically, no one's fared well as Verstappen's teammates since Verstappen has become the force that he has become. And so Liam Lawson, who's only raced 11 races, Red Bull have thought he can do better than the guy who's done over 200 races, basically. So yeah, that's going to be fun to watch. I do dislike Lawson greatly. I think he's extremely arrogant. Ruffled a few feathers last season with the older drivers.
Oh,
Again, kind of similar thing.
I really hate Larson as well.
Oh, it's perfect. Yeah, I dislike Larson too. Lawson and Larson think they're better than they are.
Oh yeah.
And
well, the thing is Larson has the millions of wins a season to like back it up.
Lawson does not. He's got 11 races total under his belt. So yeah, people are firmly in his camp. I never saw him as a top driver in F2, and I think he's been quite overrated in F1. He did well in his cameo stints in 23 when Ricciardo broke his hand. I thought he was pretty average last season, and I thought Yuki Tsunoda, his teammate, was better than him and is significantly better than him, but didn't get the call up to Red Bull.
I've heard a lot of Tsunoda. I've heard a lot about him.
Tsunoda is, I think, he's one of my favorites personally. I really like him, and he's shown really good improvement, and he's driven some really good races. But do you know when a team Red Bull just refuse to kind of believe in him or accept him, and they kind of they see his limitations and think that's kind of it. Tsunoda's kind of been notorious to be, in his earlier years, he was kind of a lot more angry in the car. He's a short Japanese bloke, and he got quite angry often. So Red Bull kind of continue to see this as a lack of maturity when he's gotten much better over the years. So, and he's got the pace, but they just refuse to buy into him as a future prospect for them. So they chose Lawson instead. So whether Lawson will sink or swim, this is more out of hope than anything else. I hope he's sacked off mid-season. That would be great. And then Soda gets called up. But yeah, who knows how this will go. Like, being Verstappen's teammates is kind of the worst job you could have in F1.
Yeah.
Especially as a younger driver, which is kind of what's been his, generally speaking, been his teammate. So yeah, we'll see. Fingers crossed. And next, an argument over the 2026 regs. So you kind of touched on the regs kind of slightly. Obviously, a lot's changing for next year. There will be, as teams begin to build these cars, because a lot of teams weren't allowed to build the 2026 cars or work on them until January 1st of this year. And so I think more arguments begin to break out as teams become worried about either their progress with them or how they're coming together. And so I'm sure there'll be some sort of argument with the FIA over how this will go, or how some things will need to change. So yeah, it's kind of one of the off-track kind of storylines I think that will kind of hang over the season. As well as the next one on the list, flexi wings. Now, oh gosh, how do I describe flexi wings simply? Basically, wings aren't supposed to move, so to speak, with aerodynamic load.
Mm-hmm.
And some teams have been exploiting this to gain an advantage. And the FIA said, the governing body, the FIA, have said that they weren't going to change the tests that regulate this into 2025. And now, literally in the last week, they're like, nah, we're going to be a lot stricter with the tests. But it's coming in we're only going to start being stricter from round number, I think it's round number 8 onwards from the Spanish Grand Prix.
That's
So basically,
so weird.
yeah. So McLaren and Mercedes have kind of were the forerunners on flexi wings, and Red Bull and Ferrari were like against it, and were campaigning to have to have stricter tests. The FIA basically said that's not going to happen. So I think Ferrari and Red Bull have had to begrudgingly get involved with flexi wings, even though they're further behind on them. They don't have as much expense in them in terms of research and development as McLaren and Mercedes do, because I think Red Bull and Ferrari thought they would be either outlawed entirely or policed. And then when the FIA said, "No, we're not going to do that," they probably went, "Ah, shit, we're going to have to do this then." Now all of a sudden they are, but it's going to be interesting if the order changes at Spain when we find out who's quick because they've gotten the better use out of flexi wings than other cars. So we could have a situation where McLaren and Mercedes are like quicker potentially than all the other teams up to the Spanish Grand Prix, or any other team that has got involved with the flexi wings. And then Spanish Grand Prix, the tests come a lot stricter. The teams won't get away with as much as they used to. And then it's like, oh shit, now like, so will some teams get slower, will others get quicker, as the other teams who use the flexi wings kind of now slow down a bit because they can't use that as much anymore. So yeah, or will it matter at all? Like, will everyone just find a similar kind of advantage, and then everything just gets reset and everyone's like, oh, okay, we're back to square zero then. We'll see. But it's going to be very interesting how, if that has an effect, and to the extent it could change the championship, because you could have a team that has a big advantage at the start and then doesn't it all of a sudden. So like, how much of a gap can they build if they can build one, and can they hold on to it? So that's going to be an interesting part of the season. Next, then, this is kind of a standard one. This kind of should be an easier one. Verstappen dominates in a wet race. He's the best wet weather racer. And at some stage, it should rain in the race. And whatever the car, unless it's an absolute piece of shit, Verstappen should be in the mix in any wet race. So I suspect when the one comes along, that he'll dominate in it.
I need NASCAR to actually like allow their wet weather tires into Cup Series. I don't know why they keep trying to hide it. They keep just rain delaying stuff rather than putting on the rain tires.
I presume this is for like in the street courses.
Yeah.
Or any permanent circuits like say Watkins Glen or Kota, or I think it wasn't the first Chicago race wet. That was a banger.
Oh yeah, that was fantastic.
Yeah, that was so good.
Everybody was slip and sliding.
Because I imagine it's a discipline that not a lot of drivers would be used to, given that their backgrounds are probably oval racing, and oval races don't tend to involve in the wet. So it's kind of like adaptability on the fly, other than like say like your Van Gisbergen, who would have a bit more experience of like racing, sports car racing, where it can, the wet obviously would be a very much a factor. But
I wouldn't doubt somebody like Van Gisbergen would be really good. I feel
he's also a lot older than I realized.
I feel like a lot of people that know how to turn right would know how to.
Well, anything like touring cars or anything like in Australia, or if you race in Europe, sports cars, like the weather is going to be more of a factor at times in the rain, especially if like you're racing in France or Germany or something like that, where like it can rain pretty often. But yeah, like in F1, kind of they say the wet is a great equalizer. So like they say like the car performance doesn't matter as much in the wet. It's all about instinct and skill. And they call it the great equalizers for that, because obviously in F1 it could be the race order is largely dependent on who's got a better car rather than driver skill, which obviously matters, but sometimes to a lesser degree than the car you're in. So yeah, but Verstappen tends to rise to the top in these, and yeah, I suspect he'll do the same at some point this year. Lando Norris doesn't learn his lessons. And I say doesn't learn his lessons more so from 2024, where he often got bullied. Again, kind of same kind of thing, like a driver who's not used to running at the front runs at the front, and he wasn't quite ready to deal with the things that a driver like Verstappen, who's used to running at the front and is ruthless, like so. I'm sure a thousand NASCAR examples will come to mind of like Verstappen will just send it, and he will expect you to kind of adjust to him.
Yeah.
So, and Norris was often kind of just, he had his pants pulled down essentially at times. Like he just like how can you not defend the inside line, man? Like Verstappen's coming, he's going to send it. Just cover the inside line, man. Just don't let him do it. Just stop enabling this shit, and it won't happen. So that's the kind of lesson Norris needs to learn, is like you've got to become a lot tougher to race at the frontier to beat Max Verstappen in a championship. Yeah, I'm sure NASCAR has 1,000 of those examples. Like, just you've got to toughen up, or like you're not winning. That's as simple as that. Yeah, again, in NASCAR it's probably more so because like there's a contact in F1 is generally speaking not to be
Yeah.
encouraged. Whereas in
Well,
NASCAR, like you're gonna have to get used to being nudged. So like you're gonna have to get
I
used to
think
it.
the weirdest thing that NASCAR has ever done is for the 2025 season, they have taken away the rookie stickers. We used to have huge stickers on the back of the car that would tell the other drivers that this is a rookie. Don't freaking like act like like they know everything yet.
That just puts a target on their back.
I feel like it kind of gives them a target on their back, but I feel like it also like somebody somebody that would send it like a Kyle Larson or something like that would be a little bit more hesitant to do so, knowing that these kids don't know that how to handle him sending it in, and it might crash them both out.
Oh, interesting.
So they got rid of those this year. So we'll see what happens with the rookies this year.
But I'm sure they'll be given radio transmission to say like this guy's ahead of you, like, and you know who he is, like he's a rogue, like don't take any chances, or either just dispatch him quickly. I feel like it's one of two extremes. Either like you are careful, like oh shit, like, I should be careful, but like maybe he doesn't know that he's just gonna turn in and not know I'm there, or oh, this guy's not gonna fight me, like he's got to earn this shit. I'm just gonna send it.
Yeah.
I always feel like it would always default to the latter. It's like oh, you're like just intimidation tactics. So yeah, I'm backing Norris doesn't learn his mistakes. Well, maybe he will. We'll see. Next one, Lewis Hamilton wins his 8th World Championship. It's kind of the dream scenario. Like it's the kind of the fairy tale thing that Hamilton wins this 8th title and he does it with Ferrari. Like that's kind of the storybook thing. There's a large kind of shadow hanging over Hamilton's season. We'll see if he's actually just washed or if he just needed a new situation to. It seemed like there's a lot of good vibes from like the Ferrari unveiling and like the test, like the private test and like all that kind of thing. His first appearance in red, and it does seem like he's genuinely kind of re-energized. We'll see how much of that actually translates to on track because that could just all be a big story thing. And then it gets to the track and he still gets destroyed by his teammate. It's like this is not good. And he is like 40 now, so it generally speaking, this tends to go a certain direction after a certain amount of time, where just cognitively you just don't have the same reactions as you once did. It's just especially in sports car racing and like in IndyCar to some extent, but not as much. Like you can hang on to that a little longer, but in F1, like when the decline comes, it can be sharp, and you don't get the same falling grace unless you're like Hamilton would be kind of rare territory. So maybe he like generally speaking, like you don't get a lot of 40-year-old drivers in F1. It just doesn't happen. Like eventually the young guns kind of come for you, and that's what happened last year. Like a lot of the 30-year-olds, like Ricardo, Bottas, Perez, they all kind of had their Magnussen. They all just kind of had their time just expire on them. Like they would they just reached the end of their F1 road and that was it. The young guns just ended up replacing them. So like this is kind of what happens. So we're not sure what Hamilton, what level this is at, if he just needed a new situation but yeah, him winning the 8th World Championship is probably on the higher end of an unlikely kind of scale. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I wonder how much of a correlation that is with NASCAR, because I know most people usually do quit around 40 years old, but there's people like Denny Hamlin that are 44 and they're still going and they're still in the top spots, and Denny Hamlin feels like he needs to prove to himself that he can still win or something. Like he wants to have that championship and then leave.
Oh yeah, like that describes Lewis Hamilton to an absolute T. Like he wants to still prove that he has it. He wants to win the 8th, which no one else has ever done before. And then to do that, Ferrari would be like, yeah, like that's it. Like well, it's time for me to go.
And then there's I feel like NASCAR, it used to be the sport of the old people because Dale Earnhardt, I think, was 49 when he passed away, and he was still dominating. I feel
did he die in the car?
Oh yeah, Dale Earnhardt died in a crash. And he was the intimidator. He was the guy that like would win all the time and would push people out of the way. He actually died the season that he chose to block other cars so his son and his teammate could win.
Oof.
Yeah, so it was like it's like he brought his teammate to his teammate and his old friend's brother to victory lane for the first time, and that's how he passed. But at 49 years old, he was still dominating. If he would have been able to win, I think would have been able to keep racing. I think he would have won an 8th championship and would have been the only one.
Wow, so a lot of parallels between himself and kind of Hamilton in that sense.
Oh yeah.
Mm. So yeah, we'll see what happens. We're getting there. There's been a kind of a rising kind of growing noise with the South African Grand Prix kind of finally being kind of announced, and it was kind of on the back burner for a little while. Most this would have happened by now, but I'm fairly certain that the reason it hasn't because South Africa have they have look. There's obviously Russian ties there, and obviously that's kind of a sore spot with everyone
Allegedly.
at the moment. Yes, allegedly, of course. Yeah, and yeah, obviously Russia was axed pretty quickly off the calendar when obviously things went a certain direction. So F1 has wanted to go back to Africa for a while. It's been kind of their circle. It's kind of one of their it's the thing they want to do next, definitely. And it would have happened already had not been for certain situations. But I think now it's beginning to finally move again, and I think it's just a matter of when rather than if. They're trying to decide where it will take place. There's 3 bids in as to where it'll be. One of them is for the actual endurance racing circuit, Kyalami, which would be neat. The other there's 2 bids trying to get into Cape Town, so I'm not sure how they'll sort that one out. But yeah, I think this will definitely happen. It's just a matter of when rather than if. So I'll give myself an easy one here.
Yeah.
It's kind of look, this is where everyone wants to expand into next. Right, next. Alpine are what I would refer to as the gift that keeps on giving, in the way that they have continued to be combustible in every sense of the word, no matter what the leadership has been, and leadership has changed often in the last 5 or so years.
Yeah.
At Alpine. So last year they did a great job of bringing headlines to themselves by deciding to cease being a manufacturer team and be a customer team instead, which is a step backwards in every sense of the word. This year I think they're going to bring themselves back into the wrong headlines. They finally promoted a junior driver, and they promoted Australian Jack Doohan to their seat, and they've immediately undermined his career before it's really officially beginning by signing Franco Colapinto, who was a hotshot Argentinian who replaced American Logan Sargent on the grid for Williams last year. And Colapinto started out very well, but kind of faded kind of quickly, began to crash a bit more, which is kind of what I expected them to do when he came in, having watched them in F3 and F2. And basically kind of Alpine became enamored by him, but had already signed Doohan to a contract by this stage. So yeah, they've kind of already... Basically, I think the first sign that Doohan underperforms or struggles to adapt, they'll just sack him off and bring Colapinto in. And yeah, so I think this will happen. I will be shocked if Doohan gets the entire season. It's very unfair to have his replacement basically just hanging over him like a shadow the entire time over the garage. But this is what Alpine kind of do. They find ways to put themselves in losing situations. I'm not sure if there's a NASCAR team or a driver kind of, no matter what seems to happen, they always find themselves to put themselves in the bad headlines and find a way for them to be worse off somehow than what they previously were. And it's an ever extending bar that they manage to do it to themselves. It's just a continual shooting of the feet in every regard. So yeah, Alpine just continue to do that, and yeah, they'll bring themselves some negative headlines when they inevitably do this. So yeah, it should be good fun. When that happens, next, Mohammed Ben Sulayem is the FIA president. The FIA is the governing body of F1, so that kind of helps make the rules. Sulayem is a controversial figure who tends to say and do dumb shit. Last year, his particular... Do you know the expression, like... Do you know there are hills to die on just in life, or like the thing where you'll go to the bat for because like it's a thing you believe in. Like there's other things you'll let go, and there's things like, actually, you know what, I'm going to fight for this one. Sulayem's thing that he decided to die on last year was that he tried to clamp down on driver swearing, which is a ludicrous thing to engage in when you're dealing with a very high level of professional sport. The stakes are obviously racing are high, like you're traveling at very high speeds, your eyes are on stalks, the heart rate is extreme, like it's a kind of all in kind of thing. Your adrenaline is super high, like things are in the heat of the moment. And sometimes when you're out of the car, it's the same. Like, I'm sure NASCAR's like, post race interviews where like drivers are still kind of high on adrenaline, they'll swear about other drivers, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
Sulayem is to try to clamp down on this and try to give Max Verstappen community service for swearing. His justification for trying to bring in a swearing ban or limitation is that, and this is the words he said, we're not rappers. Which is, yeah.
That must have went over well.
This went over very well. Yeah, because obviously, look, that has a very specific undertone to it, which is
Yeah.
just in 2025 is just like that's just, it's not good. So yeah, that went down as well as you might expect. So I'm expecting Suliem to say some sort of dumb shit like that again this year. Just I don't know what it'll be, but it'll come out in some regard. So that'll be fun.
Oh my
Next,
gosh.
it's just ludicrous. Yeah, it's ludicrous as the rapper. Ludicrous.
Ludicrous.
I don't know much ludicrous songs though. Get Low, is that a ludicrous song?
Every song is a Ludacris song. I
True.
went to a Ludacris concert last year. I
Really?
didn't realize that I knew every single one of those songs.
As I see here, I don't know a single. Let me just type up ludicrous.
I went to the concert for my fiance's sister wanted to go to one, so the three of us went to it, and it was a concert of all time.
I bet. Do you know what? If you told me that, like, I know the type of music your fiance is into, and ludicrous would be close to the bottom. I would
Oh
have
yeah,
thought.
she just likes listening. And she likes the concert vibe, but she was like, "What the hell are we listening to?"
But she's also the kind of type I think would like randomly bring up the most random ludicrous lyric and just insert it into some sort of
That would be
conversation.
funny.
Just drop it in. Oh dear. Next, we're getting there. I'm sorry, I swear. Verstappen and Russell. We kind of talked about this actually last time we spoke. Max Verstappen and George Russell kind of had a tiff last year about. Basically, Verstappen said he lost all respect for Russell after basically Russell tried to snitch on him and then got him basically dropped down the grid. To which Verstappen said he'll put his head in the wall. Allegedly, that's what Russell tried to say. That Verstappen said he put his head in the wall and crashed me on purpose. And I'm predicting that will happen at some stage, not intentionally, probably, but that'll happen at some stage next year. Those two, it was a little tense, and I'm willing to bet they won't give themselves a lot of racing room next time they meet on track. So,
Max Verstappen will teach him.
Yeah, Russell. Yeah, if Russell thinks that Verstappen is going to back down, I think he's going to be. He will, but he will know. Like, there's no like Russell knows who he's racing. Like,
you would think
he's gonna act surprised when Verstappen just say if Russell's trying to overtake him, for instance, and then Max just turns into the corner. Like, can't act surprised when his wing is chopped off when Verstappen turns in. Like, that's just going to happen. So yeah, that'll be fun. I don't know how those two are going to race next year, but it's going to be fun to watch however it looks like. So yeah, that's gonna be fun. I really look forward to that. Actually, it's gonna be fun. Next, Carlos Sainz ends Alex Albon's career. Now, poor old Sainz, obviously with Hamilton going to Ferrari, Sainz has had to drop down the grid, and he's going to be in the Williams now. Albon last year was what I would have called a fraud watch.
Oh yeah,
Albon was my story. My history with Alex Albon is long. I thought he was very lucky to get into F1 to begin with. Long story short, basically the driver that Red Bull wanted to put in the second team didn't get enough super license points, which is what you need to race in F1 super license. Basically by intentionally crashing someone out of a race in the junior category series. Yeah, that happened. Dan Ticktum is the name.
God,
it can be Googled. So yeah, so Albon got in for that, and then got himself an unexpected call up to the Red Bull team when Pierre Gasly flopped in the Red Bull seat. Is kind of goes back to what Red Bull really struggled to find a second driver that works. Gasly was one, Albon was another, and then Albon fell on his feet after a year out of F1 with Williams and did really well in 2022, but kind of in a car that was ideally suited driving in a straight line. And what I mean by that is it was ridiculously fast in a straight line, which suited tracks that were more straight line speed dependent. And then when Albon came against Colapinto last year, kind of Colapinto was immediately kind of threatening him. And since Albon kind of just held off that challenge of Colapinto last year, as Colapinto kind of faded a bit.
Yeah.
And everyone's thinking, oof. Well, I'm certainly thinking, oof. If Albon was just about able to hold off that, how is he going to deal with Carlos Sainz, who is a top tier driver? So my prediction on this bingo card is that Carlos Sainz is effectively going to end Alex Albon's career in the sense that he is going to smoke him into oblivion and will never look at Alex Albon the same way again after the season. And that Albon may have been lucky and may have looked better by having bad teammates. So yes, I think it's going to be a little ugly. Is there ever like a disparity in NASCAR where like one driver is just so much better than their teammate?
I feel like you could argue that with a few of the different people. Like there is Tyler Reddick, which is probably the best driver in 2311. Bubba Wallace is very consistent, but he's very consistent in the like 5 to 15 spot where Tyler Reddick could probably get a pole and could get a win every once in a while. And so I feel like the discrepancy is more the individual driver rather than the equipment that they're given.
Yeah, so it can happen then. Yeah, so yeah, Albon and Sainz are teammates next year or this year rather. So yeah, I suspect. Yeah, you're in F1. Like there's an adage like that your teammate is your number one rival in a sense, because in F1 it can be so subjective sometimes, like where cars can be all over the place and outperforming other cars and drivers may not be possible, but the one you can always kind of measure properly against is your teammate because you're driving the same equipment usually. And yeah, that's the barometer. So yeah, I think Carlos Sainz is going to shit all over this man, and it's going to be fun to watch because I'm not a big Albon fan. I'll be honest. I think he's been overrated, and I'll enjoy watching that play out. Speaking of Ferrari, some of their old demons include bottling strategy. They've famously made terrible strategy calls. So I'm thinking, well, at least once this year they'll make a terrible strategy call that will cost them a race win. So, yeah, it's just in their nature, it's in their blood. Like Ferrari just kind of have one of these in them occasionally, and they're for lack of a better term, and this is kind of the term that others would use. They are Italian to a fault. Like that's kind of how they can be described. Other teams will kind of they're the team that kind of would rarely hire outside of Italy, so to speak, and their way of doing things can be different to the way other teams do it, and so like it can manifest in different ways. And then it's kind of a famous kind of Ferrari thing that sometimes they just absolutely get everything wrong at once. So I think that'll happen this year. That's a quick one. Lando Norris winning his home Grand Prix in Silverstone. I'm not sure, but I'm throwing it on there anyways. It would be a very popular win. Lando Norris is a very, very, very popular driver. I don't like him. I'll say straight out. I don't like his personality out of the car. I don't like how he handles himself in the car. I think people see him as the 19, 20-year-old rookie that he was back in 19 and 20. See as a sweet, innocent guy, and I just think that's changed. I don't think he's the same personality, that the kind of fun personality he was as he entered. I don't like whatever he's kind of gone into now. He's a lot more snarky, kind of calculated. In the car, I don't particularly enjoy his lack of defense. I didn't enjoy watching him against Verstappen last year. Watch him be bullied. I didn't really enjoy. Well, he can be very unlike his teammate. Like Piastri is stone cold. Norris is easily rattled, and it's frustrating to continuously watch him kind of bottle away race wins by being rattled or losing positions because pressure is put on from behind. Like this is the kind of thing he has to iron out if he's going to win a title. So winning a home race would go a way towards that. At least it's kind of one of the checkpoints kind of drivers have to kind of tick off. You have to win kind of the milestone ones. Silverstone, the British Grand Prix is one of those. So yeah, we'll see if that happens. I also have another one for him he was very good in qualifying. But like such a celebration can happen in qualifying, you're getting on pole. But it can be undone within 5 seconds if you don't get off the line well. And that happened a couple of times last season. And this notion was put to him at the US Grand Prix at COTA last year. And he immediately kind of tried to shut down the question. Like I don't get bad starts. Like that doesn't happen really. And then I think in the next race, literally afterwards, he lost pole position from the off. So I thought that was brilliant. But so I'm backing that to happen at least once, that he'll immediately lose pole position by the end of turn 1. So and undo all that good work. So we'll be in for that.
I can't believe that he's going to lose to a League of Legends team.
A League of Legends team.
T1.
Oh, jeez. T1. Oh, jeez. You're more plugged in.
I just watched a whole thing about T1 because I was showing my fiance how much Favor just like takes over League, and she's like, I don't know who the hell that is. So I showed her a whole thing about T1 and Favor, and she was like, oh, okay, I guess he's just too good at the game.
That sounds like something she would say.
and then it was really funny because she's like, I mean, I liked the video, but I had no idea what was happening the whole time on screen. I was like, that makes sense.
Yeah, that tracks.
I was just like, I played League of Legends for maybe 2 hours in total, and I kind of understood what was happening.
I think that's impressive even to kind of understand, because I think it could just be like overload on screens. Like, holy shit! Like, what does any of this do?
Well, obviously, because Norris is gonna get beaten by
Team
T1.
He does do some streaming as well, so that does have up. He does do some streaming.
Wow.
I'm gonna. This is a bold bet. I'm gonna bet we have a new world champion this year. So that kind of narrows it down to kind of either Charlie Leclerc, Lando Norris, maybe Russell or Piastri would be on their outside, but it's kind of Leclerc or Norris if you want to bet for a new champion. Verstappen's won 4 in a row. He's going for 5 in a row. I think only Schumacher has done 5 in a row. I don't think Fangio did 5 in a row. And Hamilton never did 5 in a row. Vettel never did 5 in a row, but Schumacher did. So Verstappen's gunning for that. But I think Red Bull have been on a decline enough to suggest that maybe they could be beaten over a full season. And I think Leclerc would be my pick to do it. I just think he's the one that's most ready. So yeah, I'm going to hope for that one. And then last one then, Valtteri Bottas returns to the grid. I don't know if this will be in a mid-season capacity or he's announced to race again in 2026 when Cadillac joined the grid. But we'll see Bottas and his glorious ass in some way, shape, or form.
How does his butt get in there if there's 2 of them? How does he fit in the seat if there's 2?
He's got cheeks, man. He's like he's actually sold. I don't know if you noticed. Like he's sold like charity calendars with like his ass in all of them. Like it's a nude calendar with his ass in every one of them.
So his name is ButtAss.
Yeah,
and he has a fat ass.
He's got cheeks, dude. He's got cheeks.
He was born to be that name.
Yeah. And it's perfect too. He's got like the mullet, the mustache. Like he's just
I do like that he just takes it all in and puts it in a calendar too. He's just like, oh yeah, I'll just triple down on this.
Oh yeah, it was like a full 12-month spread. No pun intended. So there we go. That is my bingo card. That took longer than I anticipated. I mean, the line. Oh, sorry. Go on.
I think you took about an hour, and I took about 45 minutes. So I don't think we really went over time at all.
The line I'm most confident in is the middle one, from Ocon and Behrman down to Norris getting pole, immediately losing it.
Yeah,
that's the one I'd be most confident on. The one I think the one I'm not sure on would be the very right one, from Antonelli to Bottas. Bottas, yeah. I should have had a second S there.
So yeah, that'll be you.
But yeah. So yeah, that's what I think. Yeah, it should be fun. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the middle one would be my most confident one, and then maybe the one next to the right of it would be my next one. But yeah, hard to say. Yeah, the one line will surely come through. I feel confident. I don't have to juggle around to position like, wow, one's too easy. The Ocon Behrman crash is, I'm not sure, because Ocon may actually be encouraged to behave, and that could work for one season and then explode into next season. So that can happen too, where like you're on your behavior for one season, then you get comfortable, and like, now I can stretch the limits here. So maybe that would be the thing.
Well, we'll see who wins this bingo at the end of the year.
Are we doing like who gets it first, or who can get the most lines by the end of the year?
I don't know. I think it would just be fun to just like, maybe one of us will black it out.
Ooh.
So I don't know. So maybe you need to explain this to me. Maybe this is over my head, but how is Hamilton wins the 8th and a new world champion happen at the same time?
That is going to be difficult. I will be honest. Dare I say impossible. However, where there's a will, there's a way.
Hamilton wins by a thread, but that thread is wide enough for it to be a double win with another person.
It would, like, you'd have to win it and then get disqualified, and then not win the 8th.
Dude,
but have won it.
We hope that happens now.
It'd be wild.
There
you go.
That's the end. Somehow I absolutely destroyed that ending. But thank you all for watching. We're going to be doing updates on this eventually. I just hope that I win. If you guys have any recommendations for me and my bestest boy friend, anything that you suggest, I'll look it up in the comments. Thank you. Love you. Bye.